the families you support, and the community that stands stronger today because of your leadership. This honorary street naming is one small way we can say thank you for a lifetime of service, faith, and commitment to forward, and I respectfully ask my colleagues to support.
How much time do I have? To our Councilman Mann. Thank you for those who are here from the church that I pastor, Mount Airy Baptist Church. Can I get you to stand? And also let me recognize all of my pastor friends who are here and also friends just in the community who are here. Thank you so much for being here and to let me know just how much you do appreciate what I have been trying to do and what God has called me to do. Amen. I've had the privilege of living here in San Diego, and I really can know that San Diego is the greatest city that you can live in. Amen. I had the privilege of living here since 1949, and I just don't know what I can say, because I thought when my mom and I moved here, I was just a little 9-year-old kid. And I thought that we were making the biggest mistake that we could have ever made in terms of coming to San Diego. But I found out that God had ordered my steps. That's really why I'm in such a great city, because can do for you human instrumentality. And I just want you to know, Councilman and your staff, and then all of those who have given sanction to appreciate it from the depths of my heart, and I will forever be grateful. I'm also reminded of the fact that usually when something like this is done, the person is deceased. And here I am. God moves in such a mysterious way as wonders to perform. Thank you so much again for allowing me to be here, and of course to allow me to have these words of expression.
You say typically this happens at another time. I wanted to make sure that we recognize your service, your commitment, so that you were able to be here in Chambers and to say some words to our community. So one other thing that I would like to say briefly is I just want to make sure that we also recognize the First Lady. Because I know that our good Dr. Walter G. Wells, without the support and the First Lady community, as he was called to do the work of the Lord. So thank you so much for all that. Council President, I have one more item that I do need to touch on. That is item 604. I believe that is the system that we are moving to in regards to our labor compliance system. It looks like it is on the consent agenda as well. I would like to register a no vote for that item as well, as the city is moving and ending a contract and relationship with a black woman-owned firm. And we are entering into a new agreement with a non-certified firm at, I believe, over 100% of the cost. So we are doubling the cost. And unfortunately, I just can't support removing a contract from a black woman-owned firm that we are going to pay double the cost. So I will register a no vote for item 604, and I will move the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Foster. So we do have a motion to move the consent items. I will jump in. 38, I happen to notice that clearly the good Reverend lived life big, both in terms of his faith and in terms of community. So it's certainly appropriate that you've gone big on the honorary street name. So thank you, Councilmember Foster, for that. A lot of individuals spoke to item 605, the RMRA fund. This is a second reading, which gives us actually gives us no latitude to change it. We have been talking about tapping into this funding source as an option to fund the multimodal team throughout our budget conversations. So to be clear, if the council takes a budget action tomorrow that utilizes this funding source, the council will go through a second process to reallocate those funds to pick up the multimodal team and then remove some of the slurry seal that was currently in there. So we need to take an action tomorrow on budget before we would. Item 626, the Mobility Board. Thank you to District 1 resident Harry Bubbins, I see him in the back, for your continued service to the Mobility Board. Congratulations on a reappointment, and thank you to everyone that is stepping up to serve the public. Item 636, a resolution affirming the city's commitment to limit greenhouse gas emissions. I brought this item to Rules Committee in April in response to the federal government's recent rescission of the EPA's 2009 endangerment finding. That 2009 finding, based on science, curbed vehicle emissions and put greenhouse gas emission limits in place nationwide. This resolution is a commitment to our values, to science, and stand up to those who deny climate change and its public health impacts on our communities. And with that, again, I will second the item. So we have a motion by Councilmember Foster, a second by myself, and we'll go next to Councilmember Lawler.
Thank you very much. Quickly on item 638, Pastor Wells, congratulations, and to your first lady. Able to see you speak today. And on item 614, I want to thank the department for bringing forward the focus contract for wellness. That is critically important. We continue wellness for our first responders. And our lifeguards should also get access to wellness services, and I hope that we're able to do folks on item 621. I don't know if anyone's here from transportation who can answer questions on item 621, which is a settlement. We're paying out $600,000 to a motorcyclist who was injured on a portion of Rancho Bernardo Road. It's Bernardo Center Drive, which I have been telling the city for years has been a mess. And so I know we're working on a plan to repave it, but when are we going to repave it?
Department for fiscal year 27, and that is something that we can prioritize for the first quarter of the year.
Can we do it in July?
We can certainly look into it.
Okay. Between Rancho Bernardo Road and Carl Mountain Road, we paid $600,000 out to a motorcyclist who was injured on Carl Mountain Road last year. We've now paid $1.2 million in settlements on road injuries in my district to roads that we have been trying to tell the department are a problem. That $1.2 million could have paid for the payment of these roads. And so I just don't know how to better communicate. If we know our districts occurs, and then once an accident does happen, why don't we instantly go and fix it so it doesn't happen again? We can have that conversation offline, but it's just we need to stop the bleeding of city settlement money out the door when we are trying to raise the alarm that these roads are a mess. So thank you for working on it, but I am gonna push to get this fixed immediately, because if another plaintiff falls, they're going to be able to have a past history and the damage will be through the roof, so. I'm glad we're gonna work, I'm gonna push for July. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Bonneville.
Thank you, Council President. I want to join my colleagues in congratulating Pastor Wells on his well-deserved honor and thank him for his words of service. Thank Councilmember Foster for bringing the item forward this morning. I want to acknowledge the concerns the downtown residents have raised about the noise exemption language in the code update. Noise is consistently one of the biggest issues that my office hears about from downtown residents. This language was not intended to create an uncapped exemption from the noise ordinance. Permitted activities do still have to go through an established review process that does evaluate noise impacts. That said, I would like to ask our planning director, Heidi Von Blum, who is with us this morning, if she can speak to this.
Members of the City Council, I did distribute a memo on Friday in response to concerns that we had received from both the downtown on this particular item. I do want to provide additional clarification and certainty to this council and members of the public that the item is not intended to exempt uses from the noise regulations. Noise regulations are an important part of our land development code and land uses. Is just of existing law, and it provides a call out for instances where the city has carefully considered the use through a discretionary process where noise impacts have been evaluated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Von Blum. My office will stay engaged with residents and with city staff on how noise protections are structured going forward. Certainly a legitimate concern. I also appreciate those who commented on the project list for the RMRA, the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Account funds. As I mentioned during our budget hearing on Friday, I share the view that we should restore the multimodal view to the budget. Like Council President Okama, I don't want to do that in the item that is in front of us. As the Council President mentioned, this is the second reading of this item, and it includes the implementation of the speed management plan, which has funding for the citywide posted speed limits, which is also very important to making streets safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. And since this is the second reading of the item, if we were to change it today, we'd have to go back to the first reading, and I want to hold all this up. So as the Council President mentioned, there's still an opportunity in the budget conversation to restore the multimodal team, if that is the will of my colleagues. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Whitford, and we'll go next to Councilmember Campillo.
Thank you very much, Council President. Just want to reiterate an agreement with what you pointed out about the RMRA issue, as well as Councilmember Whitford, in full agreement with you there. Obviously, the technicality of getting this done today has to move forward, but I'm 1,000% behind on what you pointed out. Furthermore, on item 642, Council President, my sincere thank you for what you've done, and you too, Councilmember Whitford, on 642. That concludes my comments.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Campillo. We'll go next to Councilmember Elo Rivera.
All right, I think really forward the street renaming. I do really appreciate the timing. I think about would have been for that person to hear the words, and so well deserved, Pastor, and I'm glad that the timing worked out in the sort of way to do that in the way that you've done. And then I want to express some appreciation for the advocates related to item 605. I said it last week, I'll say it again, you know, we're being pulled in a lot of directions. And folks to resource that work makes it very difficult to bridge that gap. And in this case, we had some advocates and folks here at the city use existing resources to do. It doesn't mean it doesn't very transparent about what those trade-offs are. So, Council President, thank you for statements you've made. I'm glad to hear Councilmembers Whitburn and Capillo are also on the same page. Again, I think just a tip of the cap for the creativity there. And again, with the willingness to recognize that there are some trade-offs, because that's where we're at. Until we have more resources, there's going to continue to be very challenging trade-offs. That concludes the comments. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Vila Rivera. We'll go next to Council President Pro Tem Lee.
Thank you, Council President, and thank dealing with those evacuations at the moment. I do want to take a moment to congratulate Pastor Wells, but also on the turnout of the community to help celebrate that as well. So I imagine the opportunity when you actually unveil it will be a significant one in the community, and thanks to my colleague, Councilmember Foster, for making this special. I just briefly wanted to note on item 626 of the appointment to the Mobility Board of Jeff Dosick from University City, and congratulate him on his reappointment. Thank him for his service. He's been a University City resident for over 30 years, been a very active community member, and has really advocated for public transportation and mobility, and we appreciate his service on that board. So thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, Council President Pro Tem Lee. Not seeing anyone else in the lights. We do have a motion by Councilmember Foster, a second by myself to move the consent items. Clerk, please call the roll.
I started the voting system. Please cast your vote. That does pass unanimously with Council District 4 voting no on item 604. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, City Clerk. And with that, we will now take up our morning discussion agenda. Clerk, please introduce item 628.
Item 628 is the Pro Housing Designation Program application. If you'd like to speak on this item, please be sure to submit your speaker slip to the front of the room into the clear box. Or if you're participating remotely, now's the time to raise your hand by pressing star 9 or the raise your hand icon. Thank you, Council President.
Morning, council members. We should only need about 5 minutes for presentation. My name is Melissa Garcia, and I'm the Senior Planner for the City Planning Department. Today I'm joined by Ted Litchfield, Deputy Director of the City Planning Department, and Heidi Bonham, City Planning Director. Today we're here to present the Pro Housing Designation application. The California Department of Housing and Community Development Pro Housing Designation Program to promote housing development and acknowledge jurisdictions that go above and beyond. The program provides incentives to cities and counties in the form of additional points and preference in the scoring of competitive housing, community development, and infrastructure programs. Pro Housing cities get additional application points for several state funding programs, including the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant, the Infill Infrastructure Grant, Transformative Climate Communities, Solutions for Congested Corridors, Local Partnership Program, Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, and the Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant Program. SANDAG also provides benefits to Pro Housing cities in their grant award process, including the Pro Housing designation is also required for certain state grants, like the upcoming 7th round of the Homeless Housing Assistance and Prevention Program. To be eligible to receive the Pro Housing designation, the city must have a certified general plan housing element.
The city's housing element was certified by HCD in September 2021. The city must also submit an application to HCD explaining its programs and policies that promote home development. The city received the pro-housing designation in 2022 and was one of the first. Points included are attributed to several of the city's pro-housing home incentive programs like Complete Communities, affordable homes in all communities, and the numerous programs adopted in the housing action packages. Additional points are awarded for streamlined approvals, parking standards, and home funding and assistance programs like the San Diego Housing Trust Fund, Affordable Housing Preservation Fund, and the Rental Assistance Program. The pro-housing designation application requires the city to conduct public outreach as part of the process. To fulfill this requirement, a draft webpage was created to inform the public of this effort and gather input on the draft application. An email notification was sent out. The planning department requested input on the draft application, and this public city council hearing is also part of the required public participation. Any comments received will be considered when drafting the final application. The next steps in this process include collecting all public input received from this process, including any comments from this hearing, finalizing the application, submitting the application to HCD. HCD has 60 days to review the application once it's received. Following the 60 days, HCD will notify the city if additional edits to the application are needed or if certification is granted. Staff's recommendation is to approve the proposed action to submit an application for a pro-housing designation. Authorize the mayor or designee to enter into, execute, and deliver all documents. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Clerk, please proceed with public comment.
Thank you. Can I have Joyce Sunyata?
I'll be very short. I think it's one sentence. Pro-housing, big yes to anything in support of HAP, HHAP funding from the state. Gotta get it, gotta have it in place long-term, ongoing. And a big thank you to the planning department. Heidi, I'm just amazed by her brilliance, and what would we do without her, really? So, thank you very much. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Allegedly, Ledra?
It'd be nice if you guys really provided housing. It's crazy. You guys will go through hoops to get funding as long as you follow policies and procedures, which looks like you're like doing the right thing, but you're failing miserably. And who's determining what's affordable? Because I mean, people already tell you when they come in here, I mean, they're just trying to survive while you guys, up the tax or whatever it is. And it's like, that's just the way the government works, though, and it's sad because people actually think that you guys are good stewards of our money, that you're not, just trying to follow a policy. Well, the policy should be that you provide affordable housing. And if you affordable housing is being determined by somebody who's defining what a woman is, it's you could just say it's affordable all you want. Doesn't mean it really has to be, but it's just sad because it's you want to create your plan and you say we have this program, but then it's you just go outside and you see, literally outside the chambers, you guys walk over them at night. Some people go give them food, but it's kind of just like an eyesore, oh my gosh, let's get to my car. So that should be in itself a telltale sign that you guys are failing, because it's not housing for all of us. You say that, and again, they're just words that you use, but let's actually do that. Instead of contracting with people like Dreams for Change, that people would die before they get out of. Again, people will die on these steps. And yet we're creating housing for all, as long as you guys get that money, right? And they can go to your friends. Good job.
Max Schmidt?
Extremely personal issue for me, because I live in subsidized housing, and during that time I kid you not. I'm here to open Pandora's box. I was targeted by Freemasons. Some call it mind control. What exactly does that mean? And I want to say one thing: do not silence my voice by calling me schizophrenic or mentally ill, and that this isn't happening to American patriots, because it is. What happened when I was living in the subsidized apartments was that there was a constant, ever-present voice that was saying, literally, antagonizing me, patronizing me, mocking me, accusing me of things constantly, nonstop in my apartment. So the apartments are untenable. This is a serious problem. Liberal cities are targeting American patriots, and yes, I walk with patriot groups. Yes, I stand with the People's Militia. They're targeting American patriots, and the possessed and the demon-possessed liberal politicians in San Diego are enabling it and working with them. They're all Masonic brothers, and they have Masonic brothers abroad, and that's why they want to create a one-world government, and Satan is commanding them to do this country. Down with the
1,000 units that are available. Are they going to be really soon, and they're building them? They're not affordable, and they're not occupied. You know, there's not a big rush. There's some people in there, but there's thousands of units already available. And maybe with the guys that built them, if you don't occupy the units within 6 months, the rent is $500 a month. That would occupy them. You know, that would be really legitimate, We don't, no more state stuff. We don't, no more state stuff. We don't need, let the builders build their own houses. And let's do the mass deportation. If we deported 150,000 people that live in San Diego County illegally, there'd be a lot less, there'd be huge housing available, affordable housing. There'd be competition for rent. So if we mass deportation now at the convention center, we could get paid for it. It'll be reverse, you know, occupying. They gotta go, man. Let's do it. Okay, bye.
Next is Tony, if you can please unmute.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Hey, how's it going, City Council? Hey, I just wanted to talk about the article that was released yesterday by the Times of San Diego that was talking about the Flock license plate reader that linked an innocent San Diego man to a violent crime that he was fired. I hope y'all would take a look at that article and become familiar with it and read it. Because there's going to be a lot of people showing up tomorrow that are going to be talking about it, and you'll want to have it as a reference point to, for those of you that are going to be defending Flock, you're going to want to dissect that article so that you can have something to rebut. And there really is nothing. This is the second week in a row, or rather the second time in the last month that we've seen Flock has completely failed. If it was having an audition, it would have lost its job already. Because it failed 2 weeks ago when it sent police to the shopping center and they took over 2 hours to respond to the shooting that happened at the Islamic Center. And then it failed this man back in November. The $1 million Flock ALPR misreading by SDPD. They're both charging the city, they're both suing the city for $1.5 million each, right? And that's more than the...
Thank you much for this item. I think there really can be a way to develop a dialogue with the federal level on the future of how. It's my feeling exactly. I've been in the same place actually, in California. So I hope housing and how much I think what that really. I mean, there's many ways in what that can really housing how that is hopeful. And as long as we're thinking of those two subjects, our future housing, then we're in a good place. And for our federal leaders to understand that concept, and for our federal leaders to understand that concept, man, that would be a lot. And I think we can do it. And by doing that, thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker is 7499. If you can please unmute.
Kuczynski and about the deportation of illegal citizens. In particular, it's clear that laws. However, it's important for citizens to realize that the goals of this council and of this mayor are not the same as the goals. The mayor wants more population in San Diego because that makes them more important and more powerful. They don't really care about.
Thank you. And that concludes public comment on this item.
All right, thank you, City Clerk. With that, we'll go to the council for questions, comments, entertain a motion. We'll start with the chair of the Land Use and Housing Committee, Council President Pro Tem Lee.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you to Heidi and the entire City Planning Department. Since our last Pro Housing designation in November of 2022, our annual housing report shows that we've made progress on our RENA goals. We've continued to pass pro housing policies and continue to affirmatively further fair housing as well. Applying for this continued designation from the state signifies our commitment to expand our capacity to make more homes available costs that
additional points and scoring of competitive housing, community development and infrastructure applications and preference, and other state grant programs. And I am happy to second the motion.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Whitburn. So we do have a motion by the Council President Pro Tem Lee, and a second by Councilmember Whitburn to move
communities like Linda Vista, but just from a to serve the needs we have in San Diego. At the bottom line, that is we work on this, and I'm happy to be in support.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Campillo. We'll go next to Councilmember Foster.
Yes, thank you, Council President, and I will be supportive of this item, as I do feel that housing is a critical need, and everyone should have a place that they call home and a place that they are proud of, and we have work to do. But I just wanted to say, as we continue to move forward, I just want to make sure I touch upon the things that I have concerns about. One, making sure that we are continuing to make sure we're staying engaged with the community. I think there's a lot of things that we can do in regards to our communication efforts, our education efforts, to do a better job with communities. Also, I just want to make sure we've got a balanced approach as we continue to move forward. I want to make sure that we are not concentrating poverty, especially in a community such as District 4. I want to make sure that we get some guardrails in and that we are doing our best job to, as we are continuing to meet the call, and to make sure that folks have a place.
Our residents and our businesses, though. This is a pretty straightforward one. And to the public comment, we're not meeting the needs of all San Diegans with our housing. I think we're pulling every lever that we have delivered. Word about what private development, take it very seriously about designating housing with a capital A that is enough? No. We all know that. We all recognize that. Are we delivering enough at moderate incomes? No. We all know that. But I know the planning department works every day to try to get creative to figure out more of those products at the marketplace is going to do. But to the degree that we can influence good planning, good products that meets the needs of San Diegans, I think we are doing our job. But yeah, we're not meeting everyone's, and we're all saying it. If somebody has to say it out loud every once in a while. We have a motion by Council President Pro Tem Lee and a second by Clerk, and thank you to the Planning Department and the Mayor's Office for bringing this item forward. So with that, we will now take up non-agenda public comment. again have a respectful request from the folks we have lined up, but all the that would make 5 through that public, non-agenda public comment.
Thank you, and just to know, we have 4 in person and 9 currently with their hands raised in the queue, starting with Jacob Lewis. Jacob Lewis, I do not see him here. Max Schmidt, if you can please come up to the microphone. After that will be Joyce Anyada, and then allegedly Audra. You'll have 2 minutes, please proceed.
I just wanted to say, a lot of people have given the ultimate sacrifice for this country. And for me not to have mental freedom is an embarrassment to the United States, the American flag, and the San Diego city government. You know who I am. You know I walk around San Diego public streets and people stalk me constantly, and they're telepathic Freemasons that can say my thoughts out loud and endlessly terrorize me by doing this. You know that they do that. You know what's going on. And then when I naively and foolishly went to the police for help, because I am kind of an innocent person where I didn't know what to do, I felt like a prisoner of war, to be honest. The police 5150 me, then 5250 and became homeless. And you know what's going on. And I will not capitulate to the New World Order. I will continue to expose them by saying they don't like me talking about that the majority of the West Coast is reincarnating communist Freemasons with Satan commanding them to form a one-world government, and that they're also literally teleporting. These people do not drive cars. The majority of people on the West Coast teleport around. That's how potent, or whatever you want to call it, demonic, diabolical, is a cult group. They're worshiping Satan to such a degree that they're doing human sacrifices. These people are actually possessed by the devil. They literally teleport around like demons, and my voice will not be silenced. And you're not going to call me schizophrenic or crazy again, because I'm not stupid. I know what's going on. And you know that when I walk around San Diego public streets, I'm getting harassed, and the cops are corrupt and enabling it. Down with the occult.
Thank you. Next we have Joyce Anyada. I'm sorry, did I note for the record that if you are online, now is the time to raise your hand by pressing the raise your hand icon or calling participant *9 if you're wanting to non-Angelical comment virtually. We do have some Spanish speakers on the queue. Si usted está en línea y quiere hablar sobre asuntos que no están en la agenda, por favor oprime estrella 9 o el icono de la manita amarilla. Gracias. Please proceed.
Thank you. A little bit ago, I left the chambers and I went around a walk around the block. I needed that. Guess what? I saw the are you fighting for? What am I fighting for? Our work is storytelling. And we do an ancient ritual that goes back to the beginning of people. We sit around a bonfire and we tell our stories together. This is the work of all of us, to tell our stories, because we must remember that the miracle of life, the miracle of is unfolding before our very eyes. We are it. We are life. And it is a miracle.
for those of you that believe, would know that if you really did read the Bible and you understood that since the beginning of that's why Ephesians 6 is so important. There are elite, there are people in the Illuminati who sacrifice children, human beings. They drink blood, they eat people. They do satanic abuse rituals. San Diego is a very, very prominent stomping ground for that. And the kind of technologies that he's talking about, they can put words into your brain. I mean, it's the voice of God. There's many different technologies, and they do MK Ultra, mind control on people. So it's like he sounds like Looney Tunes, of course, but those are things that do take place. And it's like when we have, officers like McGibbon. America's the biggest consumers of child porn. I mean, Tim Tebow found 338,000 IP addresses that were just single ones that were transmitting this kind of data, children. So I mean, you guys have children. It's like nobody wants to talk about these things, and that's why they perpetuate. Is because we sit here and we brush it under the rug. That's too crazy to talk about. But this is why the world is like it is. People do sacrifice and worship Satan, and that's why such nefarious things can take place. And I would say that you guys are on a lower level of that, but you're being puppeted by those people, and you're doing their bidding, and you're brushing it under the rug, and that is extremely egregious.
That does conclude public comment here in council chambers. We're going to go to those participants. Ya le di la oportunidad para poder escucharlo. Sí, ok. Nomás le voy a pedir que si por favor podría hablar en frases cortas para poder traducirle adecuadamente, ¿ok?
Gracias, muy amable.
Puede continuar o empezar.
Sí. Perdón, Buenas tardes, miembros del Consejo de San Diego. Mi nombre es Fanny Esquivel.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Fanny Esquivel.
Estoy aquí como miembro de la comunidad y una mamá preocupada por la basura.
I'm here as a member of my community and as a worried mother about trash, about the state of trash.
De productos de tabaco que están esparcidas en mi vecindario.
And about tobacco shops that are within my community.
Mis hijos y nietos tuvieron curiosidad a las colillas de cigarro.
My community members and my children are having to see the cigarette butts everywhere.
Y las levantan para jugar con ellas.
And they pick them up to play with them.
Son niños tocando nicotina, una droga activa.
There are children that are touching nicotine, which is an active drug.
Y sus manitas y su ropa se embarran de cigarro.
And their hands and their clothes are full of the nicotine and the tobacco.
El consumo de tabaco y tirar estos desechos al piso se ha normalizado y eso no está bien.
The consumption of cigarettes and nicotine and discarding them on the street has become regularly accepted, and that is not okay.
En lugar de poderme relajar mientras mis hijos juegan afuera, vivo constantemente preocupada de que estén en contacto con basura tóxica.
Instead of being able to relax as my kids play outside, I have to be constantly concerned that they are outside playing with a toxic substance.
Nuestros niños merecen poder jugar en un espacio libre y seguro sin el riesgo de enfermarse o exponerse al tabaco.
My children deserve to be able to play in a space
Debería haber menos estigmatización y más apoyo de parte de la comunidad. Esa es la única manera en que podemos solucionar este problema.
We need more information. The situation.
La cantidad de desechos de productos de tabaco es perjudicial para nuestro medio ambiente, y nuestra comunidad.
The amount of trash that is nicotine related that is out on the streets is something that is too much to be able to handle and needs to be addressed.
Aunque las personas que fuman son parte del problema, también debemos exigir responsabilidad a las grandes compañías tabacaleras.
While I understand that it is the responsibility of each of us and the responsibility of the city, we need to make sure that we hold the bigger tobacco companies accountable and make them responsible as well.
Así como existen programas para reciclar productos peligrosos como bacterias, aceites y automóviles, también deberíamos implementar programas para recolectar y reciclar los desechos del tabaco.
Just like we have programs that are made to actually recycle toxic substances such as oils and batteries and things of that nature, we should also have a recycling program for these toxic substances of the nicotine in cigarettes.
La comunidad les exige que nos pongan a nosotros y a los niños primero por encima de las grandes compañías tabacaleras.
The community is insisting that you put us and our safety on top of as more important than the tobacco companies and the tobacco conglomerates.
Pernillo se presenta como una ciudad limpia, segura y familiar, sin embargo los políticos actuales no reflejan ese estándar. Les pedimos que actúen. Gracias por su tiempo.
Gracias. Gracias por su tiempo. Nomás para terminar, we say that we are a clean and a safe and a good city, but that is not reflected in the way that our streets are taken care of. I ask for your support in getting this addressed. Gracias, señora Esquivel.
Gracias.
Tony, if you can please unmute. That also does conclude the 5-minute timer. We have 11 people in the queue. 12, nobody else will be taken. Tony, please proceed.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please proceed.
Hey, my apologies for the earlier comment about Flock ALPR. I was meaning to leave that comment during this portion, and I don't mean to be a hypocrite in calling out earlier other people that leave comments that aren't related to the agenda topic. So my apologies, that was my error, that was my mistake. But earlier, the thing that y'all were voting on, I don't think I would have been in support of it anyway, just because I don't know that Todd Gloria is necessarily somebody that I would trust with the housing development process. If I understand correctly, that's what if that's what the issue was about, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm addressing that with the full subject knowledge that I should be in order to be speaking on it. But with that said, I'd like to just finish what I was saying earlier about Flock ALPR and the article that I was referring to. I will try to send in a copy tomorrow so that y'all can see it and when I'm speaking. I think that's done through the city clerk. I think that's what I have to do in order to send that in, but I'll look it up online in just a moment. But with regard to the article, I just wanted to speak to the fact that like I was saying, those two settlements, or rather are statistics that are based upon comparing us to other cities that have a comparative population size, but those other cities have higher crime rates. So those are not analogous.
Your time has concluded. Barbara Gordon, if you can please unmute.
Good afternoon. As a health advocate, mental health services are vital, especially for individuals with justice involvement, many due to substance abuse. I wanted to share with you SANDAG's 2025 Juvenile Arrestee Drug Use Report. This is a self-reported by juveniles who have been arrested. Marijuana continues to be the most popular drug used. Consistent with previous years, marijuana at 93% was the most commonly used substance among those interviewed. Youth were asked about recent drug use of marijuana, and it showed that the percentage use was 73% used within the past 30 days. Most of those had used marijuana, but they perceived it as harmless. When asked about the ease of assessing certain substances, most described or easy to obtain. Again, youth perception of marijuana is that it's easier to obtain risk of the city's widespread marketing of marijuana, whether it's through billboards, storefronts, advertisement, or sign. The availability of marijuana is unparalleled compared to other drugs in the city. When city's leaders advocate for more pot shop, it makes our society less safe. People do not make their best decisions when they are high or stoned. Please stop putting profits ahead of young people's health and safety. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Kathleen Lippert. If you can please unmute.
Thank you. Thank Senora Escobar for her wise comments and concerns regarding tobacco-related products and the debris and the harms that they pose for children. But I wanted to speak about parks and recreational activities for youth that are essential. One of those recreational resources is the surf soccer fields of Del Mar, but the city continues to ignore its responsibility to enforce the deep restrictions adopted in 2016, when the city entered a 28-year lease with Surf Sports, effectively ending years of peaceful rural equestrian use. Since 2016, the frequency and size of the activities and events on this land have grown exponentially. Requests to the city to adhere to the restrictions of the grant deed are ignored by the city and Surf, restoring the peace, tranquility, and rural character of the community and access to a local resource for passive, non-commercial, recreational use, walking, hiking, bird watching are no longer possible. Surf's exorbitant $20 a day fees to watch children play soccer is a barrier to access for low-income families, but it also is onerous for middle-income families. The city faces a lawsuit for failing to honor these grant deed restrictions that bar have stopped the subsequent litigation when that not been fixed, but they have been identified. Thank you.
Please unmute.
Thanks for the morning meeting today. Good luck that, I started coming to public meetings because, I was so shocked by the events of 9/11 and the fact that we don't ever know how to talk about it more openly and accountably, what may have actually happened on that day. When tech policies came around, tech accountability, to me it was a really important way to practice how we can eventually talk about peace and not war. Good luck to the people who are talking at this time and how, in the importance of their items. Free speech is important, believing them is important, understanding their point of view. I think you can get a lot of support from council persons, but also respecting the decorum of a public meeting process and learning to balance those two things. Good luck how we all try to do that. I have to do that with my issues. I can go tear my teeth out, and how shocking to think the day of 9/11 was, but I try to do it working within day-to-day policies. You guys have had a lot of patience with me trying to practice that and learn that, and thank you, and I hope it can be good advice for the new people who are talking at this time, how they can learn to balance their feelings. With that said, I'm dealing a lot with the ALPR's issues right now. I think everyone is in San Diego. Really good luck. The city of Oakland, after Trump first got into office, it was either the Oakland police, the sheriff's department, or the park police. They started jumping onto buses and taking out criminals. Like they have the ALPR technology that allowed them to just know exactly where criminals were, and they were just plucking them out of everywhere. And it was really questionable how they were doing that. And that seemed illegal. And so they stopped doing that. And I think that's what San Diego's police and ALPRs are all trying to address. And how do we have that conversation openly and clearly to understand guidelines.
Your time has concluded. Hector, if you can unmute.
Thanks for taking my call. I wanted to talk about the Tijuana sewer problem that's never seems to be going away. And Mexico is not our friend. They've imported millions of pounds of dope into us, killed 400,000 of our young people. Right now we're spending $1 billion in Tijuana on an elevated highway, and they're not taking care of the sewer treatment plant. We're spending $1 billion on a deep water port in the Gulf of California there. They're going to start importing a lot of stuff there. They're building a competition to the Panama Canal with China down there in Panama. They're building rail lines and 2 deep water ports. You're spending $10 million with the Chinese, their criminal buddy, who are importing all the drugs. So we need to focus on the Tijuana River problem, build our own sewer plants, state of the art, and we'll have a tariff on Mexico. Trump's got tariffs on, we'll take tariff money to build it. Don't kid yourself, Mexico is not our friend. Quit being friends with those guys. They're polluting the young kids' lungs. We don't need to study no more about the Tijuana River Valley. That's a waste of money studying it. Anyone wants to study in it, they can go swimming down there. And also, any kind of pro-border stuff with those guys, it's over until they fix their sewer problem. Or we can fix a state-of-the-art sewer treatment plant on our side of the border. We'll do the money, and then we'll build it, we'll charge them. We'll charge them a fine of $10 to come across.
Well, I was really disappointed. And initially I thought maybe these speakers who are talking about the different conspiracies have got something right. That maybe drinking blood and oaths to Satan or something that guides his counsel. But of course, I don't think I've gone that far. Luckily, the other lesson of today's council meeting is, if you don't do things right, and you don't get on top of it, you pay millions of dollars in court settlements. And that's the beauty of the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution. They divided the government into 3 parts: an executive, a legislative, and a judicial. And thank God for the judicial, because it gives us an opportunity when the executive and the legislature don't listen to the citizens and the concerns of the citizens, an opportunity of where to proceed and maybe get justice. So I hope that the council fully funds the liability fund. I hope the council fully funds the flood damage from 2024 during the budget hearings. And I wish you all a very good day. And I want to say hi to Ms. Senyata. She supported one of the settlements and recognized the judicial system.
Sorry, your time has expired. Judy Strang, if you can please unmute. After that is Peggy Walker. Judy Strang.
Yes, good afternoon. I've been speculating on the defeat of Prop A, Measure A on the ballot, as many media outlets have. And I would remind us all that within the city of San Diego, 24 to 25% of the voters identifies higher in the unincorporated area of the county, up to as much as 34, 35%. So I'm wondering if we have a good understanding of what the public wants. You hear from a portion of the public expressing their concerns. I'm wondering if the lack of attendance at city council meeting is some indication that perhaps you're missing what we need to tell you, what we care about. I often speak to public health concerns, and so I appreciated the young mother who spoke to her children picking up cigarettes in a public venue. And many of us have spoken to you about the role of smoking and vaping, be it tobacco or marijuana. And I would hope that you'd have some appreciation for the fact that here in our county, only 9% of the population smokes. It isn't a right to smoke. So when we bring to your attention that we would like our public venues to be smoke-free and vape-free so that you would reduce the toxic waste that occurs because of it, and in an area where everything leads to the ocean, it would certainly improve the quality of the water as well. I hope you're listening to us. We are not choosing sides, we're just speaking for ourselves as people who want to be healthy and really hope that everyone around us has that opportunity as well and has an opportunity to live where their air and their water is clear and that their air is smoke-free and vape-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Peggy Walker. After that is 7499. Peggy Walker, please unmute.
Good morning and thank you. As a public health advocate, I'd like to share important information just published by the International Journal of Drug Policy, which is warning policymakers of rising rates of cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS. CHS was brought to our attention here years ago by San Diego addiction specialist Dr. Ronnie Lev, who has served with the National Office of Drug Policy. Dr. Lev continues to warn about rising admissions in San Diego for CHS, which is marked by intense pain, nausea, vomiting that is often uncontrollable, and screaming. This led Dr. Lev to call the symptoms scromiting for the vomiting and screaming symptoms. The Journal of Drug Policy study findings show 6% of marijuana users aged 16 to 65 develop CHS, which demands costly ER medical attention. Dr. Lev has said rising numbers and diagnoses processes take ER time away from the care of other ER patients. Following new studies on CHS, the journal has called on policymakers to better educate constituents about it and to oppose efforts to increase access to today's high-potency, mind-altering marijuana products. I urge your consideration of the journal's suggestion that it's time to take a hard look at policies that result in rising cannabis hyperemesis syndrome cases and the high medical and social costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is 7499. If you can please unmute after.
Bob Kaczynski here. The problems at the Torrey Pines Glide Airport are continuing to this day. To this very day, citizens are excluded from flying at the Torrey Pines Glide Airport. Organization that calls itself, quote, the United States Hang Gliding and Paragliding Association, or USHPA. That wouldn't be bad enough on its own, but USHPA asserts that as a private organization, it has the right to expel anyone they want for any reason they see fit. In particular, they claim that they can expel people for coming to speak to this city council and be critical of the Glide Airport. Is anyone on this council intelligent enough to recognize the problem with that? That's like allowing the police to jail anyone who comes to this council to be critical of the police. That's like allowing lifeguards to ban anyone from our beaches who comes to this council to complain about the lifeguard. How insane is that? You may wonder why so few people speak to this council about the Glide Airport, and you may use that as an excuse to ignore the problem. But there are so few people speaking because no one wants to be banned from using our city park just because they dare come to this council to complain about the business operating that park. My expulsion for speaking to this council and for testifying in County Court should initiate a giant whistleblower retaliation investigation by this city. But instead, each and every one of you look the other way. This is a big stain on each of you that should follow you throughout your careers, throughout your lives, and into whatever follows this lifetime. It's time to fix this by reactivating the Torrey Pines City Park Advisory Board and implementing a flight waiver for citizens to use our public park. We have been hang gliding under a simple one-page waiver in Los Angeles since 2017. It's time to do the same for the people of San Diego. Thanks.
Thank you, Becky Rapp. If you can please unmute. After that will be Rosa.
Good morning. My name is Becky Rapp, and I'm here today to bring awareness to the illegal products being sold in our local smoke and tobacco shops all across our city, including down the street from my house. When you walk or drive by these stores, you'll see bright signs promoting a drug called Kratom, often displayed right in the front window. It is not hidden, and it is not difficult to find. Kratom is a psychoactive substance with opioid-like effects. According to the CDC overdose surveillance data, Kratom was involved in more than 5,200 overdose deaths nationwide between 2020 and 2024. To put that in perspective, this number exceeds estimates of death linked to crack cocaine during the height of the crack epidemic in the 1980s. Today in gas stations, convenience stores, and smoke shops. At the same time, many of these retailers continue to sell other illegal products like candy and fruit-flavored vape products, as well as hemp-derived THC products. The question is not whether we need more laws, the question is whether we are willing to enforce the laws we already have. Today, I am asking the City Council to direct staff to provide a public report on enforcement efforts related to Kratom, flavored vape products, and intoxicating hemp products sold within city limits. The public deserves to know what actions are being taken and how many inspections have been conducted, how many citations have been issued, and whether current enforcement is sufficient. It's time to send a message that San Diego's ordinances are not suggestions, they are laws, and laws that will be enforced. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosa, ¿quisiera hablar? Necesita oprimir asterisco 6, estrellita 6, ajá. Sí, bueno, yo voy a traducir por ustedes, si podría hablar por favor en frases cortas para poder traducir adecuadamente.
Sí, claro que sí. Permítanme. Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes, miembros del Consejo. Mi nombre es Rosa Sánchez.
Hello, good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Rosa Sanchez.
Y estoy aquí hoy como miembro de la comunidad.
And I'm here today as a member of the community.
Viviendo en viviendas multifamiliares, la introducción de humo se ha convertido en parte de nuestra vida diaria y no debería de ser así.
To share with you something that has become part of our everyday lives, and it, for me and my family members, and it should not be that way.
Para muchas familias, la vivienda accesible es la única opción.
¿Puede repetir?
Para muchas de las familias, la vivienda accesible es la única opción. Es casi imposible encontrar viviendas multifamiliares económicas.
For many of us, only accessible housing and affordable housing is the only choice for us, but it is very difficult to find housing of this nature.
Y libres de humo, el humo de otras unidades entra a nuestro apartamento por ventanas, ventilaciones, paredes y pasillos.
And smoke enters in these multi-family units, smoke enters our homes through the walls, through the vents, through the door cracks.
Afectando nuestra capacidad de sentirnos seguros y cómodos en nuestro propio hogar.
Affecting the ability for us to feel comfortable and safe in our own homes.
Muchas personas dicen que simplemente abramos las ventanas para que entre aire fresco, pero eso no resuelve, porque al abrirlas entra igual por las ventanas y pasillos. El problema
President. Many people just say to open our windows and to let fresh air in, but this does not help the situation. ¿Sigue?
El problema es el humo, continúa permaneciendo dentro del apartamento, en nuestra ropa, muebles y en las aires que nuestras familias respiran todos los días.
The problem is that the smoke actually stays in our homes, in our furniture, in our clothes, in the apartments, and is not allowing us to act comfortably.
Así como nuestros bebés, nuestros niños y nuestros hijos frecuentemente se quejan de lo fuerte que huele el humo.
Just like our children and our babies and people in our homes complain about how strong the smell of the smoke is within our homes.
Y muchas veces tosen debido a la exposición constante.
And this is due to the constant presence of the smoke.
Ninguna familia debería tener que vivir esas condiciones dentro de su propio hogar.
No family should have to live in these kinds of conditions within their own home.
Apoyamos plenamente una ordenanza que haga que todas las viviendas multifamiliares sean libres de humo.
We are asking that you support an ordinance that makes all multi-family units free of smoke, smoke-free units.
Todas las personas merecemos áreas limpias y un lugar saludable para vivir sin importar sus ingresos.
We all deserve to have an area that is smoke-free and that is safe and clean for all of us to live in, regardless of how much money we bring in.
Insistimos firmemente a nuestros líderes de la ciudad a priorizar, apoyar políticas que protejan a nuestros residentes del humo de seguridad.
And we ask you and we ask the city to please be sure to support policies that support these kinds of endeavors within our city. Muchísimas gracias, señoras y señores. Our final two speakers are Madison and then Tony. Please unmute. Please unmute.
Okay. Last time about the emerging evidence of marijuana use and asthma, which is a chronic respiratory disease that affects millions of Americans, including my son, I just found out recently. And as recreational marijuana use becomes increasingly common, many people assume it is harmless to the lungs. However, recent research by smoking, vaping, or both were significantly more likely to experience an asthma attack within 1 year. Compared with non-users, people who smoked marijuana had 64% higher odds of an asthma attack, and those who vaped had 81% higher odds. A second study examined more than 140,000 patients hospitalized for severe asthma. Marijuana users experienced substantially worse outcomes. They had a 68% higher risk of death within 30 days, a 23% higher need for non-invasive ventilation, a 65% higher need for mechanical ventilation, and more than double the risk of requiring ECMO, one of the most intense forms of life support. While research continues to study the underlying mechanisms that must assist with asthma. Thank you.
Thank you. That does conclude non-agenda public comment. Tony had already spoken. Thank you, Council President.
All right, thank you, City Clerk. We will now adjourn for the noon recess and reconvene open session at 2 p.m. We're shortly adjourned.